Hi.
Hello.
Happy Thursday?
It is Thursday. Thursdays used to be my favorite days of the week. Thursday does rule Sagittarius. I'm like, okay, so it's not yet the weekend, but the weekend's almost here. Like if I needed to do something, especially back when I worked in the service industry and I had a Thursday off, I can still go out and do things that are fun that are kind of weekend-y, but without the huge crowds, I can still get like chore stuff done.
You know, Thursday used to be the clubbing day.
It did. And
I
Tuesday.
forgot about that until you said that. Yeah. We used to go to this club up in Jacksonville. You would have loved it. It was called The Pearl. Of course, it got shut down.
Of course.
Like, I mean, there's no way a club like that wouldn't get shut down. But the theming on the inside was like, it was like one of those old 70s style light up dance floors. And then the whole thing had these big concrete trees throughout.
That sounds
and the trees
beautiful.
had like birds in it and had like things falling from it. And so the DJ was up in a tree house. And then they had like this like old telephone booth that was blacked out that said Love Booth on it. And like I didn't go in there.
You knocked.
Yeah. That place was wild and crazy. And they had the best DJ. And he played like everything from like hot chip and like indie kind of the time kind of music to like old school. He'd play like Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, Michael Jackson.
Was it
He
the
played
same DJ
Madonna
each time?
on Thursday nights. It was always,
same DJ
always
on
the
Thursday
same
nights.
DJ. And yeah, it was just like, it was a whole ass vibe. Like it wasn't a gay club, but it was very gay friendly. And so
it's like an inclusive club, like true inclusivity.
Yeah. And everybody was just there and vibing. And I worked with the bartender at Starbucks. His name was Steve Dave. Steve Dave actually saved me from getting in trouble once, because on one of my birthdays, I feel like it was like maybe my 22nd birthday, I had just broke up with like one of my very toxic exes, and it was my actual birthday, and it was the day that we always went to this club.
Like you and your ex?
Like me and my friends. So like she knew I was gonna be there. And then she showed up with her like GBF, and anytime I'd start dancing with somebody, she'd like show up on the other side of that person and start dancing with them.
That's
and like
so toxic.
Oh god, yeah. It was a really toxic time. And it was before I quit drinking the alcohols. And so I remember I was like, what is wrong with you? And she started yelling at me, and I started yelling at her. My friends had their arms around my stomach. But we weren't like going at each other. We were just yelling at each other. But it was definitely one of those situations where like Steve Day came over and he put his hand on my shoulder and he's like, it's not worth it, dude. It's not worth it. And I looked up at him and I was like, you're right.
I don't know why, but like you say, like just like listening to the story about Steve Dave, I'm just imagining like a Silent Bob. Like
yeah. No, Steve Dave was like a Silent Bob kind of character. He was taller, for sure. Not like Kevin Smith is not handsome, but like he was definitely a good looking dude. Steve Dave was. I remember all the girls used to come through and have a crush on him, and
like,
you know,
God,
it was always a good tip day if Steve Dave was working, because he didn't work a lot at the Starbucks. He just like he was friends with our partner, and he would like pick up a shift every once in a while. But yeah, it was so
back in the freedom days
Steve
of Starbucks.
Dave probably saved me from getting arrested that night for getting in a girl fight. So
represent Steve Dave.
You know, and not the reason I don't drink alcohol anymore, but definitely
one of the many like tally marks.
One of the things that got me to stop drinking whiskey, because I know what got me to that point that night, was somebody gave me a 4 Horsemen shot. Ugh, only something you would do. I had to be 22. Yeah, I had to be 22. Only honestly, something you do at 22.
Like I really I appreciated my early 20s and like my 20s as a whole, but I don't romanticize them at all.
No.
I'm just like, oh my god.
I feel like your 20s, you're still a teenager.
Basically, especially your early 20s, like especially 2020.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Your 30s, you're becoming an adult. And then now that I'm in like my late 30s, like getting ready to enter like adult like 40, I'm like, oh, I am full on adult.
Let's play Mario Kart.
Yo, I found Sega Genesis on my Nintendo Switch, and I've been playing Sonic the Hedgehog 2 with Tails. It's like
amazing. I used to love Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
It's such a satisfying game.
It unlocked a deep memory. As soon as I heard the Sega, I like, oh, deep memory. But you know what? I love video games.
Yeah.
I think there are two things that help me connect with my inner child the most, and it is video games and concerts.
Yes.
I will go to any concert.
I'll go to almost any concert.
Almost. Yeah. There are some artists that I ethically don't agree with that I wouldn't see.
Ethically, and just sometimes I'm like, I'm just don't like your music.
Yeah.
And sometimes the ticket price, I'm like, if it was $5-10, I'm like, sure. But like, when it starts to reach the higher digits, I'm like, oh.
There are some artists that I did not like their music before I saw them live, and I did like them after I saw them live.
That's kind of what I miss about like Warped Tour.
Yeah, well, that's what, like, it's not that I didn't like Pierce the Veil before I saw them live, but I saw them at a music festival, and like when I saw them live, I was like, holy crap, these guys rock so hard. You know?
They are a vibe.
Gym Class Heroes, you remember them?
Yes, I forgot about them. And yes.
Travie McCoy, so charismatic, so beautiful, so good live. I just remember seeing him at Warped Tour, and oh god, he's just a beautiful man in general, but like he had me captivated.
Well, and there's some bands too, like that just sound better live.
Yeah,
period. Like, and then
absolutely,
there's like too much editing going on, like behind the scenes.
I just recently saw Machine Gun Kelly. I was just like taken aback by how good he was on stage, because he was like singing and dancing and was smoking cigarettes through the whole show. And I'm not a cigarette smoker. Do not endorse cigarette smoking, but I used to be a cigarette smoker. And the
That's
endurance,
challenging.
Yeah,
that is
to sing
challenging
like that.
To sing,
yeah,
like to not like fry your.
Oh my god! And to be on a world tour.
Oh my
yeah,
god.
I can't imagine what he's got to have. One hell of a routine. Yeah. So, little side quest there. What about you? What heals your inner child?
That is a dang good question. If I'm to be honest, I don't think I've actually communicated with my inner child that much lately.
I understand that. I didn't even know. You know what I mean? Like, I had this moment with my therapist where she had me do like an inner child meditation, and she was asking all kinds of questions like, what gender is your inner child? I don't know. What do they look like? I don't know. What do they like? I don't know. And so, like, I think I've been on a journey since that
just
moment.
To kind of like discover. I think I remember when you first were introduced to that. But yeah, for me, it might be because I'm just like so playful as a person in general.
You are very playful. It's so enjoyable.
Yeah. And I mean, not to brag, but I am kind of like the office menace.
And I can totally see that about you, like being kind of a little bit of a prankster, but it's because you're so deadpan. Like, I think that might surprise some people. So tell me, how do you menace in your office?
Oh, so many ways. And it might be the ADHDs, but I don't know. I purposely try to just like startle people. I'll creep up behind them like, hello, or just wait until they like turn around. This was last year around Halloween time. I got my boss this nutcracker. It looks like a Grim Reaper.
I remember this story.
Yeah, it looks like a Grim Reaper. And so like she really showed up for me this day, and like I got her a gift. I was like, I wrote her a little note like, way to slay my challenges, and I was like, Grim Reaper, yeah. She didn't see it, and so like I just Zoom messaged her. I was like, man, there's like some weirdo behind you. Like, there's some creepy people around. Watch your back. And then she turned around. I just hear her screaming from my office.
And you're like, oh
no, it was hilarious.
Supposed to be a joke.
So my boss is also a Gemini, so we really vibe.
Yes, love Geminis. You know what? Bad rap, although can be toxic, as we talked about last time.
Yes, there's duality to both sides.
Immature. I learned, like, this is now the second time that you've taught me something on this pod that then I immediately saw out in the wild. So I was like, dude, you got your finger on the pulse.
Thank you. Now, like, his name is Skeletor, this nutcracker.
So he's still living around your office.
Oh yes, and like it's kind of like Elf on the Shelf, and so you never know where he's gonna pop up.
Yes.
So that's just like one of the ways that I'm a little bit of a menace.
I love that.
Yeah.
I like that. So maybe that is part of your inner child. Yeah, I can totally see that. I could see a little Stevie being a little mischievous.
Oh, little,
especially as a Sag.
Oh my gosh, do you remember like in Walmart, the clothing aisle, and how they used to have those circular clothing racks?
Absolutely. I can totally see where you're going here, but go on.
I used to like go and like hide and go on a little exploration safari.
And I can see like your mom being like, not again.
No, legit. Like there was not a time that we went into Walmart or really any kind of grocery store or any place where my name was not being called on the loudspeaker.
Yeah.
Like, yes, come to the front desk or this part of the clothing aisle. So your mother is waiting for you. Like, legit.
And I see her little self standing there with her arms crossed, like looking just very
She's
ashamed.
pissed.
Just
No,
pissed. No,
my
no,
mom
no.
to this day says like, if have you ever seen the child leashes?
Yeah.
The little backpack things.
Yeah.
She's like, I would have had two for you.
That's so funny.
Because I was such like a little. Whoop, whoop, whoop,
I mean,
whoop.
it's again back to the ADD. Like, let's
Mm.
be real. Let's be real. But
Let's be real.
also, I feel like putting a child on a leash would be even worse if you had ADD, because then you'd just be driving your parent crazy because you just
Right.
boom, boom,
Or
boom.
like being sassy, I would just like dead fish it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think all people with ADD side quest. It's like I'm
Yeah.
on this quest, but I really need to go on a side quest right now.
Like it's, and like it does feel like a need. It's not like a want. Like there's definitely sometimes, especially as a person who doesn't take medication, like, you know, if you need meds, take your meds. But like, you know, who isn't currently on medication, it does feel like a need. It's not like a, oh, I'm so quirky, I'm just gonna like go on the side quest and talk to like I could literally be walking and to do some work, but then I get there and everything just goes blank and my body starts vibrating.
Well, and I don't know about you, but like for me, like if I don't have something going around on in the background of my mind, I can't do focus work. Like I literally need something else to focus on. So I think that's why people use like fidget spinners, or like for me, like I'll put on an audiobook and I'll be like, if I need to like focus and like really do a bunch of typing, I know some people that need silence, or some people need like, you know, like some like good ambient music. I need like to learn about astrophysics, you know, and then I'm focusing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I could do that for like chores, but when it comes to typing words, I just need like ambient music or
yeah, it's true. It's just interesting. I love people's brains and how we all work in different ways.
Yeah, no, it was definitely interesting. Someone today got an insight into my brain because like I'm writing something and you could see like how my brain just moves 10 words faster than my hand.
Oh my god! Like when you sent me those notes, and I was like, I'm gonna need a translation.
Like, what is this? I'm like,
this is alien language. Which brings me to my other.
Yes, tell me. So yes, you have some cryptid insight.
Yeah, so I was at work today, and like, let me preface this: that this is a guy I work with all the time. He's on the IT team. He's a really cool dude. Well, so when I met him, I was like, how do I know this guy? You know, you meet
like
somebody,
familiar face, familiar vibe.
Beyond that, like I was like, I know him. Like, you know what I mean? And so we started going through it, and like the second time we met, I was like, okay, I feel like I know you, and he's like, I feel like I know you, and we started going through it. I was like, did you live here? Did you go to this Starbucks? Did you go to, you know, this church? Did you go to school here? Like nothing in common. Did you ever come to the restaurant I worked at? Like nothing. And so we never figured out how we know each other. So today we were sitting in a meeting and we were talking about podcast tasks actually. And I said, hey, I have a podcast. Told him about the podcast. And he's like, do you ever talk about paranormal stuff? Do you ever talk about like, you know, cryptids, aliens? And I was like, all of the above. Like we love all of these topics.
Yes.
And so then he started sharing. He was like, well, I haven't shared this with you, but like I have had lots of experiences. And he was like talking about like basically like alien experiences in his sleep. So
that
like
he has had personally.
That he has had.
Oh.
So he said that he has gotten very skilled at astral projection, and that through his journeys, he's realizing that he's having encounters, right?
Oh my
As he said that, I got chills down my spine.
I just got chills up my spine.
I got chills down my spine because I looked at him and I was like, what if that's how we know each other? And he goes, I've been thinking that for a while.
But then
chills all over my body.
But what?
Right? I don't know. Like if we've met each other like in the astral realm,
like just both astro planning and then just like, oh hi.
Yeah, or like in the astral realm somebody or some entity
Ugh.
is because
Mhm.
we've talked about this, you've had experiences, right? But I don't
Right.
remember mine. So you know what I mean, I don't remember my dreams. Like I very very rarely do. So it's like, where am
Mhm.
I going when I dream that I'm not in touch with it? And is that how I knew him? But the fact that I said that
Interesting.
and then he said that he's been thinking that for a while and then we all got goosebumps all over our bodies, it was just like so weird. Like, I don't know. I just had to share it because I was like,
That's so
holy
spooky.
crud, dude. So we'll have to have him on the podcast sometime because I feel like
Yes.
he'd be a really interesting. He was definitely the way he was talking. I was like, he'd be an interesting
No, that
guest.
would be incredible. We should definitely like plan it.
Yeah.
Have like a little interim episode or something like that.
But like, have you ever thought about that? Like, what if we are encountering like extraterrestrial or interdimensional you know what I mean? Like you were talking
Yeah.
about like the entity you encountered, like, and we like went to
I already
paranormal.
forgot about my entity.
We went to paranormal, or like what about like
Yeah.
sleep paralysis, you know?
No, like yeah, no, it makes sense because it is a question, like, because we all do dream. It's just a matter of like who remembers what. But then there's some dreams that just feel different.
Right?
And especially like those repetitive dreams. Ooh, and deja vu just ugh, gross.
You got the goosebumps now too, don't you?
I just got like the deja vu thing, and I was about to say something. Have I ever told you like my working hypothesis around deja vu?
I think you probably have, but it feels like something you should share here.
Well, so like my thing was like, okay, and mind you, I came up with this fully sober, just one day
Raw dog in it.
walking around the park, and then just this thought comes, right? Um, what if deja vu, instead of like, oh, I recognize this from a dream, or like I've done this before, blah 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 blah. What if? So especially if we go like through the whole multiverse theory, right? What if whenever you experience deja vu, it's because you and the other versions of you are experiencing the same and or similar thing at the exact same time?
I've thought similarly, it's like I like exactly what you're saying, like a glitch in the matrix almost. Like
Mm,
not just that you're experiencing it at the exact same time, but maybe like you are in some way tapping into,
that consciousness.
yeah, or the energy of you on another plane, because we know that the multiverse exists.
Mhm.
We don't really know what those multiversal realms look like, but
Right. And they've been talked about for like centuries. Like ancients talked about this.
well, and one thing that we learned from the work that they've done at the CERN, which is like
Oh, the CERN.
that's another rabbit hole we could totally
Yes,
get
yes,
down.
yes. Which
But
maybe later.
one of the things that was very interesting, you're familiar with the Higgs boson.
Mhm. But
What?
maybe our listeners aren't. So brief
Okay,
synopsis.
facts. So CERN is a super collider.
In what is it? Sweden
Or Switzerland. I
One of
can't.
the SWAS.
One of the, one of
So
the
sorry.
one of those great place where blonde people come from.
A little friendly.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But it's
But
miles long. It goes through several European countries, but it starts and it's based in
yeah.
one of the SWAS.
And so basically what they're doing with it is that they're messing with atoms.
Mm.
I'm not a physicist, so
Me neither.
I don't know exactly what it is, but they hypothesized that there would be this one called it wasn't named yet, but like the Higgs boson, which was basically like the God particle. And the math of it, right? Because the thing I love about math and about science is it's very finite.
Mhm.
The math of it that they hypothesized when they discovered it did not match this universe.
Ooh, I got chills down my spine.
Yeah, so that's just one of the things that they say proves the multiverse, but there are a whole lot of other things. So I have told you very many times that I think that the work that they're doing at the CERN has been flipping us through timelines.
Oh my god.
Maybe I haven't told you that.
Maybe you haven't. And
But-
no, I just had like an existential crisis just flash through my eyes.
You're like, oh my God, that is. Because if you think about it, like think back to
Mhm.
when they started that experimentation.
Right.
And
when
then
they were
when
starting to build like miniature black holes.
and then when things started getting really weird.
And like, our poles started shifting. They were experimenting with time travel, but they were also experimenting with teleportation.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden it's like everything had been moving in one direction and then it started moving in a different
Right.
direction.
Feels like a complete hard right turn.
And there's been multiple of them, right?
Mhm.
There's been multiple shifts that like everyone can kind of be like, oh, this feels different You know, the joke is like 2016 Harambe, like that's when it all changed.
Yeah.
But like, what else was happening around that
Like
time?
you think about like 2012, like the CERN stuff has been going on since the early 2000s, I should say.
That's true, but they didn't start this work until I would say
The mids.
mid
Yeah. So
closer to when we're talking about 2012 20.
which 2012 was another big like end of the world.
But yeah, what if we just switched timelines
Yeah, what if we did jump?
and then we just keep jumping? You know, I love a conspiracy theory.
Yes.
Another one of the conspiracy theories is that they've seen so far into the future, and so they keep jumping us timelines because they're trying to find one that works.
Oh, that kind of like saves us, air quotes.
Yeah, like, you know, like Doctor Strange style.
Mhm.
I've seen 765 million possibilities, and there is one where we survive.
Right. And it's like we wouldn't know because
No.
governments keep things locked tight.
Why would they tell us that? You know what I mean? Like, or are they telling us through the movies?
Right. I mean, science fiction oftentimes becomes science fact.
That's true.
Not always, but often.
I don't know if Doctor Strange counts as science fiction, but he might.
Partially.
He might. Yeah.
Partially.
There is some science to that. You're right.
Yeah.
Not all of the Marvel heroes, but I would say Doctor Strange
it's
for
a part
sure.
of the desensitization. So when we do figure it out, like, did you hear about the whole like release the alien files?
I mean, are you familiar with Project Bluebeam?
Bluebeam? No, I don't think so.
So Project Bluebeam.
So sorry, listeners, as we like derail,
is a conspiracy theory about how at some point in time they're going to stage a fake alien attack as a distractor, which is also the premise of my favorite graphic novel, The Watchmen.
Oh, I love The Watchmen.
Yeah, because I started hearing about Project Bluebeam, and I was like, "This is The Watchmen." Like,
yeah,
because in the movie they
do they call it that or no?
No.
It's Mr. Manhattan is part of.
So in the movie they have Dr. Manhattan be.
Sorry, Doctor.
Yeah. Okay. So, and we'll just go over a brief history of, like, you see how much I love it. It's sitting right there. So in the book, what happens is there's the superheroes, and basically at some point being a superhero gets criminalized, and so if you're a superhero you're a vigilante, but the people who used to be superheroes are like now celebrities. Well, one of these celebrity superheroes is like the richest man on earth, and he is Ozymandias. So Ozymandias is a little bit narcissistic, and he hatches this plan basically, and Rorschach, who is like the antithesis of Ozymandias, basically has like figured it out, and is trying to get some of the superheroes together to thwart it, because the plan is that they're going to stage an interdimensional attack to unite the world against an alien threat that doesn't exist. So in the movie, they change it, and that threat becomes Dr. Manhattan. Now, what I don't like about that is because in the book, Dr. Manhattan is an asset of the United States. So it doesn't really work the same way. But essentially, my understanding is that Project Bluebeam is
basically that.
And what I think is really hilarious about it is they use all of this alien stuff as a distractor, right? Oh, release the alien files. Nobody wants the alien files. We want these other unredacted files that we should not have to name.
Right, exactly. We just want, like, people to do right.
We just want people to be held accountable for crimes against humanity. That's it.
Exactly.
That's all.
No big deal. No, it should be simple.
Yeah. And I know we try to remain apolitical, but also
sometimes you can't.
Sometimes you can't. There are things not to be apolitical about.
Right. Like, human rights.
Human rights.
Yeah. So, because we're all humans.
Yeah.
Or
are we?
According to the Men in Black, you never know.
If there's anything that is definitely an alien, it's a doodle.
Yes.
Have you ever seen the way they look?
Just look at a Clementine.
Yeah. Well, this was a fun little jaunt down conspiracy theory highway.
Yes. Jaunt indeed.
I loved it. Would love to do a little bit more. Maybe we can have conspiracy corner.
I like that conspiracy corner. It has a nice little tune to it.
Yeah, and like in all good fun. I just
Right.
I
Little
just
mini
like
sewed.
yeah, I just like a conspiracy, you know?
Right. Like I
So
don't necessarily subscribe to any of them, but I do just like enjoy exploring the thought process and like everything that goes into it. Cause sometimes like and that's I feel like that's what makes a good conspiracy theory. This is my last little tidbit. A really good conspiracy theory like takes like fact.
and turns it on its head.
Correct.
And honestly, that's what makes a good critical thinker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So agreed.
Agreed. But shall we turn our eyes to the skies?
What are we talking about today on our newest and most incredible episode of Full Moon Moxie?
Well, Katie, we are talking about the upcoming full moon and our gradual approach to spring.
You know what this moon is called, and I love it so much? The worm moon, which I found out today
Mhm.
has totally roots in exactly what you're talking about, that we need to till and cultivate the earth as the worms do to prepare for the
For
spring.
spring. Yeah.
So yeah,
So
tell us
this
what you
is
learned.
the early phases. And not only is it a worm moon, but this full moon is going to be in a full lunar eclipse
During retrograde.
in the sign of Virgo
I know, I saw that
during
today.
Pisces season
I know, dude. It's like being slapped across the face.
with a dead fish.
I
can't. Anyway, not to share my opinion about anything.
want to know all about this worm moon.
This little wormy moon. Well, so since you asked so nicely, Katie, so a little bit of the history of the worm moon. So a lot of our current names and terminology for the moon does come from indigenous culture. So I just like to state that, and there's some hypotheses that by worm during the time period where tribes were referencing it as the worm moon, it was actually most likely beetle larvae that they were seeing because of how cold and like how far north it was when the snake was growing. Worms not necessarily weren't around, but just like wouldn't be the thing that would first come up, wouldn't be the thing that the folks would be seeing. So if we think about the season, if we think about the transition, the worm moon is really all about not so much reflecting, but it's allowing, because it takes place during that time for the up north folks, when the snow starts to thaw and the worms are wiggling around and they're getting that earth all rotated. And so it's really setting that stage, like you were saying, for planting that excellent harvest to come in the summer. So when we think of melting snow, thinking of water, we're thinking of cleansing and preparing, not so much of reflecting. So think of it as like time for a fresh new beginning. And so how do we do that? So utilizing the energy of both Pisces and Virgo. We use that Piscean energy of just like developing healthy boundaries, working with our intuition, and we use that Virgo energy to kind of ground us in it and to really touch base with nature. So think of it as like we are checking in, not so much reflecting. We're checking in on the quality of our soil for those intentions that we want to plant.
So, what you're saying is this is a time because we were hibernating.
Mm-hmm.
And then after hibernating, we were reflecting.
Mm-hmm.
So now we've moved into a time of kind of like digging before cultivating.
Yeah, like sort of. Yeah. So like, this is kind of like a checking in. We're doing a quality check. That's essentially what it is. So like doing a good quality check, like checking those different areas of your life. Like, so how am I feeling mentally? How am I feeling physically? How am I feeling spiritually? Is there anything, like, think of it as like when you're tilling the soil, we're taking the old topsoil and we're turning it down to the bottom. We're taking that fresh bottom soil, putting it to the top. So we're switching up the nutrients. So like, where in my life do I feel a little bit out of balance? And do I kind of need to move the dirt around, so to speak?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So it's more about like, it's like what my chiropractor is doing to my spine.
Yeah, and like the kind of guidance that she's providing you with excuse me, the guidance that she's providing you with that. So as we transition into spring, one of the biggest things that kind of come up is spring cleaning. So this is kind of like
that's
the
actually
perfect.
like one of my favorite things to do in the springtime.
Yes, it's just so refreshing. Way to set up a whole new space. Spring cleaning has a lot of benefits, both spiritually but also for your psyche. So there's studies out there that show that cleaning and keeping a tidy space not only reduces stress, but it boosts endorphins. It boosts your mood and your creativity as well. And so using this time to kind of like, all right, I'm going to be purposeful and intentional, practicing magic in that way, some house magic, and just clean my house with intention, sweeping out the old to allow in the new.
I love the way that you're talking about that, because I think it could apply to a lot of things. I think it could apply to like your mental health. Like this could be a time to start to take an inventory of your thoughts and, give yourself a little refresh. It could be a time to sweep out those relationships in your life that aren't serving you. It could be a time that you might want to think about looking at your finances differently. Like it's really a
absolutely.
time to just clean up in general.
Just clean up. Like, again, kind of going back to the full moon theme as a whole, it's taking inventory. If you think of yourself as a farmer, winter is ending, we're getting ready for the spring season. So let me look and see how my tools are doing. Let me look and see how the animals are doing. Let me look and see how the ground is doing.
And let me look and see how I'm doing.
And let me
because
look
we
and see
can't-
how I'm doing. Exactly.
We can't thrive in the spring if we're not taking care of ourselves mentally, physically, metaphysically, spiritually, interpersonally.
Exactly. And so I thought it was also interesting, some fun facts. Did you know
I did not. What is it?
that there is a national spring cleaning week?
When is it?
So
Putting it on the calendar as you speak.
it's every fourth Sunday in March, or every fourth week in March. And so for this year, it's going to be March 22nd through 28th. And something that's been going around for the last 100 years. And it's kind of coined by the American Cleaning Institute. Did you know there was such a thing?
I mean, it makes sense.
It
There's
does.
an
I feel like
there's
institute
an
for any-
institution for
For
everything here.
absolutely everything.
We are a very institutionalized country in many ways.
I mean, facts. National Cleaning Week, you can do it on that week, or you can do it on another week in early spring or upcoming spring ending winter, right? Think of
Yeah.
it as like a perfect time of transition.
Nothing feels better than like walking into your house after you've done a good deep clean.
Oh, feels
And
so
it just like
nice.
you breathe it in.
Starting can be overwhelming, and so like maybe breaking it down. Maybe you focus on a different part of the house, and maybe the different part of yourself for each day. Maybe Monday of spring cleaning week, I focus on the bathroom and my health.
Yeah. And
You
maybe then you focus on, I'm going to clean all of the sheets in all of my
Right.
rooms. I'm going to do the floors
You
on
know?
another day. I'm going to do
Right,
the
you don't have to do
dusting
it all
on
at
another
once.
day. Yeah.
Exactly. Like maybe I do the bedroom and reflect on how well I'm resting and like my body. Maybe I do the living room
Yeah.
and reflect on how I am taking time for myself. This moon is going to be a lunar eclipse.
And I don't know about you, but just to talk a little bit about the energy of eclipse season, I've been zapped. My energy has just been like super low.
Fatigue
Yeah.
is real.
So if you're tired during eclipse season,
just rest.
It's okay. It's okay to rest. I recommend doing something that's going to be rejuvenating for you, because like I don't know, there were just it was hard for me to sleep a few nights, which I think is pretty normal during eclipse season. And then during the day, my energy has just been like
Yeah.
like the balloon is deflated.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is our first eclipse of the season. So maybe I should specify this is
Yeah.
the first lunar eclipse.
Lunar eclipse,
Not just
yeah,
the first eclipse period, but the first lunar eclipse. Some facts about eclipses. What it is, it's the moon passing through the Earth's shadow. So when we look at a solar eclipse, we're looking at the blackening of the moon and it just gets blotched out. And don't look at it because you'll go blind and crazy. But with the lunar eclipse, it's not like a blotching out that the sun has, but instead you're looking at this change of hue. And so with the full lunar eclipse, what we're looking for, it's the moon itself becomes this deep red, coppery, orangey glow.
Interesting.
Since it's going into the Earth's shadow, the Earth is blocking a lot of that blue light from the sun, but it's still getting some of those rays from the sun. So it's bending because space time bends. Oh, Einstein. Anyway,
Is that what Einstein sounded like?
that's totally not what he sounded like. So basically, the blue light waves get blocked. Meanwhile, the red light waves, those bend around, and that's what's reaching the moon. So we're still getting light from the sun. The sun is still reflecting off of the moon. That's why we're still able to see it. It's just that darker, warmer hue.
You know, I'm big on like lights and colors and light theory, and I think that that makes sense too, because like a blue light is a nice calming light for me. Like
Mhm.
when I take a shower at night, I turn the lights in my bathroom blue,
Mhm.
and it's like the most I'm ready to go to sleep. But like a red light will have me up all night. So
Right. Well, it's interesting too because there's like red light therapy.
yeah,
You know, I forget exactly what it does. It's like circulation and all this other health stuff, allegedly.
allegedly, we do not endorse nor support anything
I haven't
that we
I
talk
haven't done the
about
research on it.
that we talk about on this podcast.
But anywho, TM. But so red light, if we think about the chakras even, right? So red is the color of
Mhm.
the root chakra.
Yes, 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 yes.
So all about that grounding energy, that, you know, feeling secure and safe. Kind of like goes into the theme of, you know, this transition. Like, how can we make the most secure and safe transition into spring, right? So we have the most fruitful harvest, right? But also, if we think about the sign of Virgo, the maiden, who is a caretaker,
Oh, is she?
the mature ones.
What's she taking care of?
Herself. I'm kidding. I'm sorry. There's plenty.
Business
There's
was the right
plenty of
answer.
nice Virgos out there.
I think she takes care of business.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know a Virgo who's not about business, so we'll give them
Right.
that.
You
We'll
know-
give they're skilled.
They're-
They're skilled. In fact,
we don't
actually,
have any opinions about
you know what?
Virgos.
My barber is a Virgo, and she's my
Oh.
favorite Virgo. She's my favorite Virgo. She's
You
a really
know-
good Virgo, but every once in a while, I'm like, bro, you're such a Virgo.
I can count. Never mind. I was like- anyway, I digress.
What I did for you in Pisces, I'm gonna really need some help on when
I
we get to
can't help
Virgo.
you. I could try, but I don't know if I. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see how much I grow.
Clementine, we're
Um,
tapping you in.
Yep. Nope.
We're
Shouldn't say
tapping you
belly
in.
rub.
And I thought I don't know why I thought my friend Brian was a Virgo, and I was like, well, I like Brian. Brian's a good Virgo.
No.
He's a freaking Libra. Of course he is. I always get along with a Libra.
Damn.
Yeah. The other day he was like, dude, I'm not a Virgo. I'm a Libra. I'm like, of course you are.
Of course.
Of course you are.
Oh my god. Oh, and I will say too, like sometimes that moon color can change because we do live in, you know, an inhabited planet, and so sometimes things like smoke from fire, smog, whatever, fog can change the hue a little bit. Volcano eruptions and ash can change the hue of the moon and the lunar eclipse. Of
Yeah.
course, just slightly. So if any of that's going on in your area, just know it might
Just
be
know it might be a slightly different color.
a slightly different color, but still in that warm, earthy shade. So did you know there's 3 different types of lunar eclipses?
No, tell me more.
So there is the total, which, you know,
Yeah. The full Monty, as we call it.
Yes, it's all there. It's all covered. And then we have the partial lunar eclipse. Can you guess what that is?
Half.
Not necessarily half, but it is a part of it. With the partial, the moon is going into that outer part of the inner shadow of the earth. And so what that inner shadow of the earth is called the umbra. And then you have what's called the penumbral lunar eclipse, which, can you guess it? It's when the moon is being covered and it enters that lunar eclipse on the outskirts of the umbra. So that earth shadow.
The penumbra. You know what's really interesting about that is that there are some music choices that come in this podcasting tool, and one that I often use is called penumbra.
Interesting.
And I never knew what it meant.
Oh, that's
And
just a cool word.
Now I do.
Yeah. So the edge of the shadow is essentially what that is. And last 2 little fun little factoids. There are typically 2 to 5 eclipses per year. And 35% of all lunar eclipses are total lunar eclipses.
Well, that is so interesting. I never knew any of that about eclipses. I just know that when they happen, I am having a total eclipse of my brain.
Not of the heart.
Sometimes total eclipse of the heart.
Oh, and one little reverse fact about spring cleaning. This year's theme for National Spring Cleaning Week is clean and well-being. So even more reason to kind of like stack that cleaning with that, personal check-in.
Go to yoga, go to the chiropractor, eat some good food, take some deep breaths, go on a walk.
Walking is
so underrated.
It is. Like, I love walking.
Well, I would like to talk a little bit about some of those transits that are happening around and after this full moon. I know I usually tell you how to work with the energy before a new moon. And so I think that one of the things I've been reflecting on is with full moons, it's all about release. So I would like to kind of switcheroo it up a little bit this time and tell you how once you release this energy, you can kind of utilize. Because first of all, full moons are not times for manifestation, especially not during an eclipse, especially not during retrograde. So please, I'm all for manifesting, but we are fully, last time we talked, we were in the shadow. We are fully in the retrograde. It actually starts today, the day that we are.
The retrograde stuff starts right now.
Today. The day that we are recording. So if you have been experiencing,
that's why Taco Bell took so long.
That is why Taco Bell's. Oh. Not only was I sitting in line at Taco Bell for 10 minutes, and then it took me another 5 minutes after we got off the phone.
Oh my God.
When I asked her, hey, can I put something more on the order? She said, if you want to do that, you're going to have to go back through the line. The line was wrapped onto the street at that point in time. I was like, I couldn't even get out of the parking. It was like,
why does everybody want Taco Bell tonight?
It was a nightmare. It was a bad choice. I love Taco Bell, but it was a bad. I did not live Moss.
No Moss living. Oh man.
I want to talk a little bit about that and about what you might expect with this energy. One of the things I've been experiencing is people who are just worming their way out of the woodwork.
I see what you did there.
Thank you. And some good, some not as great. But, I find that during Mercury retrograde, if I haven't heard from somebody in a minute.
That does happen to you almost every single time.
Every time.
I'm so every time. Gemini.
Yep. I had a friend who I haven't seen in over a year. I reconnected with. Great experience. I had an ex ask me to go to coffee, which she's a great ex, so I'm totally
sure you're down.
I'm gonna go to coffee with her, but I haven't seen her in months, And then there's just other people who just pop on
out
up
of the woodworks.
And so I was in therapy today, and my therapist was asking me about some things, and I was like, not fully anticipating that that's gonna happen because it's retrograde. So just be aware.
Mm-hmm.
Be aware that you might be hearing from people from your past. Mm-hmm. And what I've found is if that person is showing up, something that either is unfinished for you or them is out there. So you need to let yourself kind of reflect on, is this a connection I want to continue? Or is this a connection that I have severed for a reason and I want it to be severed? Because not everyone who pops back up during retrograde is meant to bring you goodwill.
Again, doing your checklist, right?
Oh yeah. So any interesting pop-ups for you?
See, I know I've said it before, and I'm going to touch this wood table that's near me, but Mercury retrograde doesn't really affect me that much. The only time it really truly affected me, I was traveling over the summer for school, and the Mercury retrograde was in Leo. And so my rising sign's in Leo. I was doing an activity that, my sun sign Sagittarius does a lot or enjoys and thrives with. And so that particular Mercury retrograde was pretty rocky and rough, but I was still able to flow through it and remove some of those boulders after that initial impact, if that makes sense. But typically, touching the wood again, nothing really disastrous truly happens. Sometimes I might just feel more in a funk. I think more of my mood gets affected. Yeah. So I might be a little bit lower or just kind of a different kind of a buzzy feeling. Like it's more like body feeling,
Yeah.
like internal.
Well, as a Gemini, Mercury is
Is
my
your ruler. So no
So
wonder.
it definitely always impacts me. This one is going to be going through March 20th. So just be aware that we're in it for a long haul.
Oh my god,
and
it's not March yet.
I know. No, February 26th through March 20th. And then after March 20th, it's not quite over because you're in the shadow. So expect at least 2 weeks after that there might still be some
Lingering.
Yeah, even though it's going to go direct on March 20th, there might be some lingering stuff. Other things that are happening around the energy of this full moon is Mars is going to enter Pisces on March 2nd. During this time, you might feel like you're more in touch with your intuition, and you might feel encouraged or inspired to bring something that you've been working on across the finish line. So this would be a good time to work with that energy, especially with that release for the full moon coinciding with it. So if we're thinking about the spring cleaning aspect, it's like, what's one thing that you haven't tackled in a while that
Right.
like you could use that inspiration to get that done, you
Right.
know?
And even pulling back from like, when we were talking about the transition to the Chinese New Year of the fire horse, right? Utilizing some of that energy. But I also find it interesting how like we're going into Mercury retrograde right after this transition into the year of the fire horse. So it's like you almost think of it as a fresh stallion that you don't want to lose control over.
Speaking of the fire horse, on March 6th, Venus, which is the planet of love, is going to shift from the watery sign of Pisces to the fiery sign of Aries.
Oh no.
So if you're looking for love this week,
Use protection.
Yep. But do it in caution and be assertive, be direct.
Yeah,
There's gonna
no is a sentence.
Yeah, no is a sentence. And also during times of retrograde, there's a lot of openness to miscommunication. So the more direct you are, the better the outcome's going to be for you.
Mm-hmm. Which could be a good thing. Maybe you have that crush you've been crushing on. So just, be direct with them.
Yep. And then remember, we are, even though Venus is going to be shifting in Aries, we are still in Pisces season. So,
feely.
yeah, you might get in your feels. Just, be open to
Heartbreak.
Be open to your emotions. Be open to heartbreak. It might, I mean, it might be heartbreak. It might be, a time to really process through a heartbreak that you haven't been dealing with. So just be thinking about that through the week. Be thinking about these Aries shifts that happening, because
So many.
like, I mean, being in the fire horse and then going into our first fire sign of the year, like, it's about to get lit. Other ways to really work with the retrograde is make sure, if you do have to do something like travel, check your travel plans. Or, I do trainings. So if I'm going to have a live meeting, which I'm going to have next week, I'm going to give myself a bunch of extra time, because there might be some kind of tech issue.
Yeah.
Things might be shutting down. There might be a misunderstanding. Oh, I thought it was at this time. It's actually at this time, but really just be mindful. That's
give yourself 5
lesson.
extra minutes each morning before going to work.
That's the lesson. So that's really the transits, and the way to work with it over the week is when you're releasing with the full moon, don't manifest.
Nope.
When you are working through relationships, whether that be romantic or work related or friend related, just be patient with each other.
Be curious. Like if something hits you the wrong way, just ask that question like, hey, is this what you meant?
Exactly. Yeah. Clarify.
Clarifying is so important.
Oh my gosh. And also take ownership, because this is a time that tensions will run high.
Sure.
If we F up, we can literally just say we F up. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's so much pride that's just built into our society, especially like now that we have social media and we have all these other things. So it's like people aren't perfect. And the beautiful thing about life is the imperfection.
Right. But I also think there's a lot of pressure into admitting faults, because there's this fear of like fallout of canceling and everything like that, especially when it comes to social media, right?
For sure.
But doesn't mean that we need to ignore it. It's like there's a difference between like owning up to something and still dismissing it, and like owning up to like admitting it with compassion.
Yeah, absolutely.
for yourself and others.
When it comes to compassion, that compassion to yourself is huge.
Mhm.
And like if something's not going the way that you planned it, because it's very likely during this time or the way that you thought it would, just be open to the fact that the universe might have something else
Right.
out there for you.
Don't be afraid to pull back on the reins and pump the brakes.
Yep, I will go back to it over and over and over again that my mantra of the year is to let go of the outcome,
Mhm.
because the outcome is not what's important. What's important is the right now. And, if we can ground ourselves in that, that's going to really help us through this time.
Right. So, with that, how, especially with you being in Gemini, how do you intend to stay grounded and rooted through this Mercury retrograde season? Or at least the start?
I mean, the first thing is that I've been working on my body. So when I say I'm working on my body, I don't mean like, oh, I'm hitting the gym and I'm getting swole. I mean, I've been working on feeling grounded in myself.
Mhm.
I've been working on feeling good about moving. I've been working on addressing my anxiety in ways that is healthy and helps to build my tolerance. So I'll continue to do those. I always go to therapy, but I've been really working with the chiropractor. Things are moving. Went to my first yoga class.
Yes, how was
Yes,
that?
it was
'Cause it's been a
so
long time for you, right?
it was so lovely. First of all, it was at the Collective, and it was like first you walk into the room.
A really interesting idea the collective has.
So cool. So cool. Like just a really cool space. Have you been there?
No, but I remember when they were first like getting the startup.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. I'm like, I would love to be a part of that. But then I moved.
So there's like 15 pothos plants hanging from the ceiling.
Oh my god, that's
First of all. So
they're
like
just up the street, right?
yeah, you're like laying under a bunch of pothos plants. He
Mm.
had a couple of those like projectors that were like projecting like universal things on the ceiling. It was a very low lit. It was a yin class. If you're not familiar with yin, it's a lot of
Holds.
it's a lot of holds. So it doesn't
But
seem
you have
like
props too, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
You do. And you can use the prop, you cannot use the prop, you can take the option, you cannot take the option. Anytime I'm given an option, I'm like,
Let me try it.
and I don't know. I'm just a little, competitive with myself. There's no one else there to compete with. It's yoga. It's literally supposed to relax you.
Right.
But I just like to see what I can do with my body. And so it was wild. Last night in the middle of the night, I felt my hip pop. And it was like I had this like radiating pain down my leg till I didn't think I was going to be able to walk in the morning. And then I woke up and I was like actually feeling a sense of relief. And when I went to the chiropractor today, she was like, actually, that leg adjusted itself. Did you do a hip opener? And I was like, I did do a hip opener. And
Wow.
then she was like, okay, let me fix the other one because now there's an imbalance. And that's what you're feeling today is that you're balanced on this side and not on
Interesting.
that side. I'm going to try very hard not to overwork myself.
And that's a challenge, especially in today's society, and especially as a single person living on their own. Like, because it's almost like, okay, well, there's this pressure of like, I need to work for two.
Absolutely. And the thing is, there are some ways that you can be aware too. Like, I have some work travel coming up, and I talked to one of my peers today, and I was like, I think I'm going to plan to do this first so that I can take this tool with me out into the field as I travel to work with the partners. And that was part of it. But then the other part of it was like, I should wait until after the retrograde is over to do all this travel.
Probably.
I'm probably going to be traveling in April.
And me too.
Yeah. I'm pumped. I'm pumped for it. And then, of course, do things that delight you too. You only live one life,
That you remember, right?
Yeah. Facts. But buy the concert tickets, go to.
So excited for Hillary Duff.
Oh my,
So
yeah.
good. I haven't listened to the new album that dropped, but like,
It's so good.
I know.
I've listened
only
to it so many
one song,
times.
I'm like, I'm so
I've listened to it so many times. And do you know how lucky we got?
stupid.
Because literally, so the day that I got those tickets for us, it was on Verizon presale. The presale that happened the next day, nobody could get tickets.
Oh,
so like
my God.
literally, because I went in later that night because a friend of mine was like, oh, I'd like to go with you. All the lawn seats were already gone. And then the next day there were only like $500, $600 tickets available. So if we had waited until the general presale, even presale, dude, we wouldn't have gotten the tickets at all.
God.
So,
It's gonna be so incredible.
Yeah. And we are just gonna Oh my gosh, it's just gonna be so lovely.
is.
And I love a long concert, you know.
Same. Like I love the freedom to move around.
Yeah, and just to kind of lay and vibe
Yeah.
and let the music wash over you, and it's just
Mhm.
such a pretty venue. Um,
I haven't been to that venue in a long time, so it'll be nice.
last time for me was Halsey last
Okay.
year, and that was a
Okay.
great show. So
Yeah.
you know,
She puts on good shows from
yeah.
what I've seen.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my god. I mean, I saw them twice last year, and the first time was that show, and then the second time was that show at the Fillmore in Denver. And I do love to travel for music. I'm going to the Gorge this year. I'm going to the Sphere. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to go to the Sphere. It's like a millennial megachurch moment.
Wild.
Where we're all just like collectively healing together. Let's end with a little bit of magic. Okay, so you just rolled this cute little peach dice and it looks like a
Yes.
rainbow.
So I rolled the peachy orange dice and it did land on the rainbow. So this is about what kind of spell to cast. So whether you look to the night sky, consult your tarot deck, draw yourself a magical bath, or use your creativity to cast a spell directed toward your desired manifestation, even though we're not manifesting right now. So we landed on the rainbow, and that is color magic, which is my favorite kind of magic besides candle magic.
You know what's really interesting is you spent like, half this podcast talking about color, and now we're talking about
I
color
got
magic.
chills.
Oh,
Wiggle chills. But also we're both wearing purple.
that's what I'm saying. It's like it's been multiple color connections this time.
So magical properties are associated with each color. Yellow is sunshine and joy. Red is passion and love. Pink is sweet and caring love. Purple is creativity and is fit for royals. Blue is protection and tranquility. Green is money and abundance. Integrate color magic into your ritual, whether it's the makeup you wear or the candle you choose for a spell. So have some fun, be creative, be playful.
I think you're giving me some ideas. Clementine, you haven't pulled a card for us in a minute.
Noodle on the couch
Pick a card
from our pouch. Oh, and what did we get?
Candle for Compassion.
Oh my goodness.
This one is 30. Candle for Compassion. And well, my good friend Stevie looks it up. First of all, it's got a beautiful little crescent moon on it. It's got 2 lily pads, and on that lily pad there is a colored candle. There is a pink candle that is lit, and it's in the night time with stars around it, and there is a little purple buzzy dragonfly.
Beautiful.
Which dragonflies often like symbolize like transformation and spirituality. So
perfect. So, candle for compassion. A new perspective is gained when we are able to understand a situation with compassion. Whether compassion is needed to better care for yourself or to aid in finding resolution, now is the time to soften and commit to empathetically connecting with self and other. Light a pink candle and imagine the candle warming your heart, coaxing your heart to open to a new level of awareness and sensitivity.
one more way to bring in that color magic.
Right?
So I love that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go down to Spellcrafter. I'm going to get myself a pink candle, and I'm going to do that under the full moon.
Beautiful.
I think it's a perfect way to wrap a little pink bow around what we've been talking about today, which is that this is a season that might be challenging, but as long as we leave with compassion and empathy and we look for understanding, and we'll be just fine.
Yeah, we'll be just fine.
So we'll see you next time on
Full
Moon
Moxie.